Yeah. You ever wondered what would happen if someone got the Hikaru and Magnus bots to battle it out? 'Cause I have. So I did. Let's find out what happens. Take it away, Johnny.
The board is set, the players are seated. It's Magnus you'll find that has the white pieces. You done a rhyme. And we're off. Magnus opening with e4. Hikaru responds with e6. Magnus takes the center with d4, and a surprising d6 here from Hikaru. A more familiar knight f3 played now. More surprises presented with d5. Magnus quickly captures here, and an equally swift recapture. Knight c3 played now. Bishop e7 the response from Hikaru. Magnus develops his light-squared bishop, and Hikaru his kingside knight. The other bishop now comes to the f4 square, and Hikaru takes this time to castle short. Magnus orders the attack with knight b5, and Hikaru counters with bishop b4 check. A cool, calm and collected c3 to block here, but continued pressure from Hikaru with rook e8 check. The bishop's turn to block now on e5. Hikaru here backing off with bishop a5. And it's Magnus who now chooses to also castle short. Knight c6 from Hikaru now. Rook e1 the response from Magnus. And Hikaru centralizing his knight to e4. And Magnus to potentially reroute his. And it's Hikaru attacking now with knight takes e5. And Magnus returns the favor. Bishop e6 the response played. And Magnus surprisingly now trades off his remaining bishop. A recapture with d takes e4. Magnus attacks the trapped bishop on a5. Hikaru revealing a defender. Unfazed, the knight takes the bishop. And the queen does indeed recapture. Rook takes e4 played now. And immediately threatened with bishop d5. Magnus chooses the rook trade. And Hikaru takes control of the open e-file. Another knight reroute to c2 now. And Hikaru claims space with f5. It's queen d2 from Magnus. Bishop moves to f7 now. g3 played by Magnus. Bishop straight back to d5 from Hikaru. Another rook trade, this time from Magnus. And Hikaru accepts. Queen recaptures and the e-file now belongs to Magnus. King to f8 the response here. And knight b4 on the board. And bishop e4 played by Hikaru. Magnus now brings the queen forward, and Hikaru maneuvers his to b5. f3 now, attacking the bishop, and a5 counter-attacking the knight. The last bishop falls, and the last knight follows suit. c takes b4 now from Magnus, and f takes e4, Hikaru's reply. The queen gives a check on f4, and Hikaru tucks back into g8. And queen takes e4 here from Magnus. The turn of the h-pawn to advance now, and Magnus mirroring on the opposite side. Queen c4 played by Hikaru here. And Magnus of course finds king g2. Hikaru nestling in amongst the pawns now, and the king continuing on to h3. Queen f7 the response here, and the king continues to continue on now to g4. Hikaru bringing the queen to a2. Magnus plays the return of the king to h3. Queen takes b2 played now. Magnus pushes to d5. Hikaru disallows a passed pawn, and the queen recaptures taking d5 with check. The king moves to the corner here, and Magnus claims the pawn on b7. Hikaru reclaims with queen takes a3, and now queen c8 check is played. The king evades to h7, but a relentless Magnus gives check again. Back in the corner goes the king, and Magnus now pushing his advantage. Hikaru responds with queen c1, but the advantage is pressed further, and undoubtedly Hikaru finds queen c6 here. Magnus brings his queen back to f2, and queen d5 played by Hikaru now. And the queen is dispatched again, now with check. King h7 chosen by Hikaru, and queen e7 here from Magnus. Hikaru's turn to give a check now, and the king opting for g2. Another check here with queen d5, and it's heating up now as the king walks to f2. Another check from Hikaru here, and a stellar move blocking and protecting the passed pawn. Yet more of a hounding from Hikaru, and the king walks back to g2. And still the checks rain down. Magnus evading here with king g1. Queen c2 from Hikaru now. The h-pawn takes a step forward. Hikaru back to giving checks. King g2, the reaction from Magnus. Check again with queen a2. But Magnus again able to use the queen to endure. A check from queen d5 chosen now. And the king steps aside to h2. Hikaru here playing queen b5. Magnus pushes to g4. Queen to c6 played. Another push with h4 now. Hikaru puts the king on g8. And Magnus now giving check with queen a2. The king finding a familiar corner here. And we see queen b3 from Magnus now. Hikaru simply barricading the passed pawn here. Queen e6 is played. Hikaru responding with queen b8 check. The king sidesteps to g2. The check this time comes from the corner. Another sidestep from the king. And again Hikaru checks with queen to f8. The king's shimmy continues on. Queen back onto b8 selected by Hikaru. So what do you think, pointless second commentator? I think it's a wonderful event. I'm just very happy to be here. King d3 now from Magnus. Queen to the corner, the response. King d4 now from Magnus. The queen questioning from f8 once again. The king marches on from Magnus, as active as an endgame king can be. Queen f3 check from Hikaru now. Onwards goes the king. And queen g3 check played by Hikaru. And still the charge goes on. Queen d3 check played this time. And Magnus crosses the entire board with king c8. The checks continue from Hikaru now. King to b7 played by Magnus. Queen a3. A pawn push to h5. Queen b4. King makes space. And the queen says no. Magnus evades with queen c8. Hikaru here playing queen f8 check. The king takes back the space. And the queen goes back to b4. Magnus giving a check now. And king to h7 from Hikaru. Queen c6. Hikaru back to checking with queen e7. King b8 played. Another check, this time from f8. And king to c7 is played. Yet another check now from f4. And the king again takes up the b7 square. It's another barrage from Hikaru with queen f7 check. Magnus still able to defend with the queen. Check now from f3. King a7 is played. And Hikaru was levelled up on material, taking on g4. But Magnus, positionally sound here, picks up the pace with queen c2 check. And the king takes his comfy corner. b7 finally from Magnus now. And queen d4 check, the reply from Hikaru. King a6 put forward by Magnus. Check yet again from d6 here. The king moves to b5. Hikaru tries his luck with queen d5 check. But Magnus back to the defense of his pawn. Queen d4 check played now. Again the queen utilized in holding everything together. Queen f6 check. King to a7. Queen a1 check. King to b8. Queen a2 from Hikaru now. And queen c6 from Magnus. Here we see queen to f7. And a check from Magnus with queen c8. King h7 naturally from Hikaru. Another check here with queen to c2. And the king again reclines comfortably. King a7 from Magnus. Queen e7 from Hikaru. Queen c3. Queen back to f7. Queen c8 check played now. King h7 the response. Queen c2 check this time round. And a comfy king occurs. Magnus with queen e2 here. Hikaru playing king to h7. Queen d3 check now. And king to g8, the reaction from Hikaru. Queen d8 check from Magnus here. King to the safety of h7. Queen a5. Queen e7. Queen f5 check. The comfy king reoccurs. Queen d5 now from Magnus. Queen e3 check from Hikaru. King to a6 is played. Now we see queen a3 check. Queen to the rescue again on a5 now. And queen d6 check, the choice from Hikaru. King to a7. Queen e7. Queen c3 from Magnus. Queen f7. Queen a3. King h7. Queen a5. Hikaru now with queen f2 check. Magnus evading with king a8. Hikaru pinning the pawn now. And queen e5 is played. Queen a3 check. King moves to b8. A check from f8 this time. And here the king waits on c7. Only to be checked again by queen to f7. b8 chosen this time. But queen g8 check played by Hikaru. King to c7 again. And queen c4 check is selected. King b6 from Magnus now. Queen b3 check from Hikaru. King c7. A check from c4 again. Back to b6. Hikaru adjusting to b4 check now. Queen b5 to block from Magnus. Queen d6 check now. King to b7. Queen d4 check. King to a8. Queen moves to e4 here. Queen d7 from Magnus. Persistence from Hikaru with queen h1. Queen d3 check is played. King to his corner. Queen f5 now. And queen a1 check from Hikaru. King b8 is the answer from Magnus. Queen a4 played now. Queen c5 follows. Queen a2 trailing just after. And queen c8 check close behind. Hikaru's king makes a home away from home here on h7. Queen f5 check from Magnus. King to the corner once more. Queen f4 now. Queen a5, the response from Hikaru. But it's queen d6 now, just ahead of king h7. The queen to c7. Soon after is queen a3. King c8 next in line. But it's queen f8 check here from Hikaru. The king comes to d7. Queen f7 check is just a nose hair behind. And king d8 here has tied the race by the 50-move rule. Isn't it marvellous? Happy to have been a part of it. Since no pieces have been captured and no pawns moved in the last 50 moves, this game, unsurprisingly really, was a draw.
Yes, I do hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. Here's some more videos you might also like. And now it's time to make myself a cuppa, sit comfortably, then play chess.